balmy 103 degrees Fahrenheit right now in the Phoenix, Arizona area. We're at almost 7:30 p.m. It's been pretty hot all this week. Coming down on the ground here underneath my grafted fig tree that has black Madeira on it, we can see some skins that the birds have left. They have completely hollowed out the figs. Do have some figs that were bagged that are definitely ready to go. Black Madeira is considered a late ripening fig. And in cooler climates, that's true. It's one of the later figs to ripen. It needs a lot of heat units in order to ripen its main crop. Here in the Phoenix, Arizona area, we are not in lack of heat units. So your Black Madeira figs, once the tree is established, is going to ripen pretty much in sync with any other variety of figs. I find that our second main crop that happens in fall is when you'll see more of a difference between the figs. Your later ripening figs will take quite a bit longer than your early to mid-season varieties. This is an in-ground green Greek. This entire section here is actually a Nixon Peace graft that I put on not too long ago, and we can see main crop here coming in very large. The early crop on Nixon Peace will be over 100 grams. The main crop, generally speaking, is around 80 to 90 grams here in the Phoenix, Arizona area. Definitely a very large fig. So just an aside for those of you that are new to growing in this climate, maybe you come from Washington, Oregon, California, more temperate climate, where you're not getting those super hot, dry temperatures like we do here, day after day of 110 plus degree temps. You might be a little overwhelmed, might be confused about what to do on watering. When it comes to fig fruit, like I'm showing you in this video, my trees are established. My fig trees have all been in ground for at least a few years now. So I'm not really trying to establish the plants anymore. That's really your main concern, the first year or two, is you're trying to establish those trees, get them rooted into the ground, get them big. So your strategy on watering, year one, is going to be similar to later years where you want to give a light, frequent application because you don't want those roots to dry out. Year two is going to be a little different. You might want to do, in addition to light applications of water, a couple gallons maybe a day, is to give a deep soaking once a week. And I say that only because in year two, in order for those roots that stabilize the tree to go down deep into the clay soil, you do need to get that soil wet. So we're coming up on the Panache Tiger. It's definitely a nice one to grow if you like the sweeter scale of figs. This is still a berry fig, but imparts a very saccharine type taste as well. So with this one, the only thing that I have trouble with is the ants. They really do go after this fig. It has a slightly open eye, so more often than not, if you're not controlling those ants, you're going to find that they get into the eye of your fig. See if we have any ants pouring out of this. All right, we're coming up on my raspberry latte. And I do see a ripe one of those, so we'll give that a try as well. All right, here's our lineup, and I'm just going to go ahead and weigh them just to see how they are weighing up in dry weather. We've got 40 grams here on this Black Madeira. This big guy, oh, I'm wrong, 108 grams on the Nixon Peace. And we've got 29 grams on the Panache Tiger. And I believe this raspberry latte is completely spoiled, but let's weigh this up too. 21 grams. So we've got the Black Madeira in front here. This was not my favorite fig the first year. It really does take a little bit of time to come into its own and really develop its full potential. It's now one of my favorite figs. So this particular one did not seal the honey at the eye. I typically see that during our monsoon weather. when we have more humidity in the air. We have like, you know, less than 10% humidity, so we just have super dryness right now. And the only moisture this fig is getting is from the daily watering that I put down on the tree, which happens to be between 3 to 4 gallons per tree each day. As I've discussed in other videos, that watering time is divvied up between 4 sessions. So I'm not putting down a whole lot of water, but I'm giving the water to the tree as it needs it during the day, and that really does help the ripening process. You can see this fig is not dried out. It's not pooling honey like it will in, you know, monsoon weather, but it's a decent looking fig. So giving that fig a taste, it's absolutely delicious, hits the mark on the complexity, the richness. It's all there in this fig. Right amount of sweetness. I don't like my figs overly saccharine. I do like, you know, a balance of sweet and acidity, and this fig delivers on all those points. So moving down the line, this is my Nixon Peace. This fig is so very close to yellow longneck that if you have yellow longneck, I don't really know that you need this fig. It was just a matter of I was growing both. This one was a hair better in my opinion, so I kept this one and culled the other. It's a delicious honey fig. I've tried a lot of honey figs. They're not my favorite taste profiles. I want a little bit of depth of flavor, and I feel this fig delivers that. Plus, it's a huge fig. It's like, you know, this is gonna fill you up. Sweet, and it's juicy. It's refreshing. It's got a light texture to the fig. The skin is really pleasant on this one, whereas the Black Madeira is a little chewy. You know, as you saw, the birds left the skin on the Black Madeira, and they would eat this yellow longneck all the way, inside out, you know, and leave nothing left. I did see a couple ants in the bag. I'm not seeing, you know, ants pour out. I do tend to treat my yard around this time when I start to get ant issues in the figs because I want to enjoy them. I don't want them just completely attacking the figs, because the moment that a bird nicks a fig, the ants are going to invade and be all over it. And this variety is one of their favorites just because it does have a fairly high sugar content to it. A sweet fig, you know, strawberry taste, not a whole lot of acidity or complexity to it, just a sweet strawberry taste. Really can't go wrong with it. It's pretty productive in our environment. This again is a late ripening fig. In our summer, all figs are going to ripen up, you know, in July. There's no lack of heat. That's not an issue. This fig, where you might see it be more of a late variety, again, like Black Madeira, is when we talk about our second main crop that happens in the fall. Sometimes we will get cold set in earlier than other years. In those years, you may not get that second crop ripen. So this raspberry latte is something I am not going to touch. This was left on the tree too long, and I believe something got into it. It could have been a sap beetle, which is a point you should all know. If your fruit smells really fermented and you see some little black bugs pooling out of them, those are called sap beetles, and they have basically destroyed your fig fruit. They enter through the eye of the fig. They lay eggs in there. They spoil your fig. You know, you don't want to eat that. One method I have found to combat those is to use diatomaceous earth. Buy a little duster tree with diatomaceous earth. That will cut up their bodies and they will eventually be eradicated. Another thing you can try to do is actually tape the bottom of your figs with medical tape. That will adhere to the fig fruit, yet be easy enough to pull off. It'll protect that eye from being penetrated by bugs. I will mention with raspberry latte, it's supposedly a seedling of Black Madeira. It's one I have in ground, but I'm now moving more to a rootstock with it. It does have a really interesting flavor in that it tends to raspberry versus strawberry, which is a nice change from some of the figs, but I do find issues with it like this where they tend to spoil. I hope you enjoyed seeing a few more fig varieties ripening up here. Thanks for watching and happy gardening.